Hi there. Today I'm going to talk you through the second task for Year 12 English, which is the feature article based on the novel Cloudstreet. As a reminder, a feature article is a social comment about a particular issue or concept. You are to write a feature article which examines the novel Cloudstreet and respond to the following statement. Cloudstreet should be considered a part of an Australian literary canon. In your feature article, you need to use evidence to substantiate your statements of opinion. Furthermore, you need to have a clear angle, or a thesis, so to speak, and you should select and discuss 3 relevant narrative elements, such as plot, character, setting, theme, motif, symbolism, and/or writing style, and how these have been used by the author to support your response to the question. You need to write between 800 and 1,000 words, and you do have a drafting opportunity. This process exemplar will talk you through the planning and reviewing phase of the unit, and then when your final is due in week 7. Remember, you have 2 assessment items, so this one is due at the start of week 7. So at this point, you should have read the novel Cloudstreet, have completed or read some summaries, and started to examine the narrative elements. You'll then discuss what a literary canon is and the features of a literary canon. You'll then do some genre work, so having a look at deconstructing examples of feature articles. Your draft is due on Monday the 22nd of May, and your final is due on Monday the 29th of May, which is the Monday of week 7 at the start of the lesson. This exemplar has responded to the question, Cloudstreet should be considered a part of an Australian literary canon. It has used the narrative elements of setting, symbolism and character, and the canonical elements of true to the human experience, well written and artistic, and still significant to a modern audience. In this feature article, it's important that you have that conversational tone. So using rhetorical questions and second-person prose can assist you in establishing that. You must have a clear angle that addresses the task question. You need to follow the structure and sequence your information logically. You need to use direct evidence from the novel. It needs to be purposeful and it must link to your angle. You must have at least one picture with a caption that is formatted correctly, an embedded quote box or boxes, a clever headline that is big, bold and across the page, an abstract that is bold and introduces the angle, also written across the page, a byline written in bold, which is your name, and the rest of the article is formatted into 2 columns. Okay, let's start having a look at the feature article exemplar here. It's quite clear to see that the title is Australian at heart. It is big, it is bold, and it fits across the portrait-sized page. We then have an abstract. An abstract is 3 to 5 sentences that explains and explores the literary canon. A wise woman by the name of Sue Monk once said that stories have to be told or they die, and when they die we can't remember who we are or why we're here. This is why literary canons exist, so that influential novels are able to live on, not only reminding us who we are, but acknowledging the deep importance of historical and social relevance. Yet, saying this, Australia does not have its own canon, a serious oversight, as literary masterpieces such as Cloudstreet should be canonised. With timeless storytelling and expert use of character, symbolism and uniquely Australian style, Winton's heartbreaking tale of 2 families forced together by tragedy is a true Australian classic. Melissa Mason reports. So my byline is included after my abstract. It is also bold. In this particular example, I've formatted my picture to be next to my abstract, and the caption is formatted correctly. So we've got a short, snappy statement, that is in capital letters, great works, and then an explanation written in regular case, classics that have been canonised. It is important that your pictures do have captions and they are formatted this way. You're then going to move into an introductory paragraph where you're going to introduce the idea of a canon, the novel title and author. The introductory paragraph must start with a drop cap, which you can see there, which is the large M that goes across 3 lines. The last slide will talk you through a bit of a formatting guide of how to get that drop cap inserted correctly. You then need to have a paragraph that explains how the novel meets the criteria of the literary canon and your angle regarding the inclusion in the literary canon. In this particular excerpt here, you can see that there's also a quote box, an embedded quote box there, which relates to the content in the feature article. Many great works of literature only get better with time. It's as if we think that good books burn down like candles, when the truth is that they get better and brighter. Liberated from the circumstances of their making, books become new when we read them again, more themselves than ever. Australian literary masterpiece, Cloudstreet, written by Tim Winton, 1991, is a funny, sprawling saga of love and acceptance which is worthy of being canonised. Canonised, as in literary canon, not a canon that goes boom. For a work of literature to be considered worthy of a literary canon, it must be influential and a representation of certain communities and cultures. Winton has hit the nail on the head here. The novel should also have the characteristics of classic works of the greatest artistic merit, such as being true to the human experience, having a well-written and artistic style, and addressing relevant ideas and issues. Again, Winton, tick. For an Australian literary canon to be created, there must also be further considerations to ensure the texts being considered for the canon are undeniably Australian. Great novels such as Cloudstreet have had widespread influence on the country and deserve to be recognised as culturally significant. Few language choices and formatting considerations need to be had as well. Intro has that drop cap as mentioned. We have a conversational tone that we've established. For example, he's hit the nail on the head, or Winton tick. It's persuasive. We've got a high use of adjectives. The novel title is formatted in italics, and we've got that embedded quote box there, where it's a slightly different font. It's larger, it's bold. There's different ways of doing that. Things that you need to take care with and consider in the construction of your feature article. As the feature article progresses, you need to make sure that you're consistently linking back to your angle. So we've got a paragraph that is the use of canonical elements plus link to angle, which is through Winton's use of artistic style combined with his beautiful descriptions, symbolic representations and characterization ensures that Cloudstreet must be included in a literary canon. We're then going to move into our first piece of evidence. So it's important that we have explain and evidence in each separate paragraph. Remembering that a feature article doesn't follow a typical teal structure, we need to have short paragraphs that have that opinionative impact in them, I guess. So we need to explain how the canonical element is used with narrative element. You need to put in a direct quote from the novel with page number, and then you're going to have some anecdotal analysis. You'll then repeat that for the second canonical element and narrative element as well. So I will read only one of these paragraphs, but have a look at them. Winton's creative style combined with descriptive words crafts a quintessential Australian piece that is true to the human experience. Conversations between characters read like poems, with each piece of dialogue flowing into each other due to the lack of punctuation. Don't smile. Fish, Lester Lamb says. You'll frighten the prawns away. Oi, quick, look at Dad. He looks like a statue in a fountain with that light. Wants to be careful someone don't come over and toss in a penny to make a wish. Page 27. I know. Missing punctuation makes you want to take out the red pen and get correcting. However, this is Winton's style. Replicating Aussie dialect, Winton's novel crafts the Aussie battler character with ease and poise. So you'll see that I've got a direct quote in there that I've used from the novel. It is contextualized to fit seamlessly into the paragraph, and then we have some anecdotal evidence. Making sure that anecdotal analysis. Making sure that with the analysis that you are trying to maintain that conversational tone, which is quite difficult in this genre. There's a second example there where a use of rhetorical question has helped establish that tone. Have a read. After you've put in two pieces of evidence, I would suggest that you link your ideas back to your angle just to keep that seamless link throughout your entire feature article. So other canonized classics, including novels such as The Great Gatsby, are praised for their literary prose. Whilst Winton's style can be frustrating, it serves its purpose alike other greats. The writing style of Cloudstreet successfully makes the novel a well-written artistic masterpiece that deserves to become a part of an Australian literary canon. Well, then we're going to move into another piece of evidence. So we're going to go into the explain and evidence section. So explain how the third canonical element is used with the third narrative element. So accompanied by Winton's writing style is the symbolic through line of the water that is intertwined into many events in the novel. You may ask, how can water be symbolic? Winton answers this question in Cloudstreet as he tackles the issue of life and death through the use of water as a prominent symbol. Plant a seed, add water. and watch life grow. Take water away and watch the plant die. I know Winton talks about people and not plants, but the same concept applies. It's through this symbolism and highly relevant ideas that Winton ensures that Cloudstreet meets another criteria of the literary canon. If we're thinking about an analytical essay, that's really our topic sentence and our contextualization of quote. Being a feature article, you can use the anecdotal examples that we have used there. And we've got that conversational tone happening through the use of rhetorical questions. It is persuasive. We then have an embedded quote box, which actually happens to be the quote that we are analysing in the next section. So we start with our quote contextualization, we put in the quote from the novel, and then again we have that anecdotal analysis. And in our separate paragraph, we make sure that we link our ideas to our angle. So with water comes life, right? Throughout the novel, it can be seen that the water provides life for both the lambs and the pickles as a source of food in the form of fish, crabs, and prawns. However, Fish Lamb, who lost part of himself by drowning in the river, feels a much deeper connection to the water and wishes to once again drown himself in it to regain his sense of wholeness and rejoice in the life it brings. The river, remember, wherever the river goes, every living creature which swarms will live, so everything will live where the river goes. Page 178, details how the river is symbolic of life itself. It also represents the counterpart through the death of Fish later in the novel. By surrounding himself with the water, Fish is described as feeling truly alive amongst the river, despite the fact that in reality he is killing himself to achieve his happiness. Talk about circular life. This dichotomous symbolism of water demonstrates that with life comes death and that there can't be one without the other. Winton gets all deep when he writes about symbolic ideas that are significant to a modern audience, as we all know that in our lifetimes we'll all experience aspects of both life and death, aspects that are definitely not as black and white as they seem. In this particular section, the quote and quote analysis has been split up from the link back to the angle. In your quotes, some of them in the novel are quite lengthy, so just choose the most prominent and important part and appropriate section. So strategically use your ellipsis, remembering it is 3 dots and not 300, and make sure that all quotes are referenced. Remember, after we put in your evidence and analysis, we do need to link back to angle. So we have that in a separate paragraph, as you can see here. A novel which is still significant to a modern audience is a requirement for it to be included in a canon, and Cloudstreet definitely ticks the box. Winton's minimalistic characters signify that this postmodern masterpiece must be canonized. Think about the modality that's been used there as well. So a feature article is a persuasive piece where you're arguing an opinion, and you can do that through the use of high modality words such as must be canonized. We then have another paragraph with a contextualized quote from the novel, and anecdotal analysis. We've done that twice here when we're talking about the narrative element of character. I'll just read one example. Winton's writing mirrors the characters from his personal experience, writing about ordinary people, the little people, the battlers, the losers, the everyday Aussies trying to find meaning and hope in their lives. Rose was a stubborn, independent woman who had a passion for hating her mother. She didn't care if the old girl came to her party or went to hell in a hurry. In the novel, Rose felt that her mum, Dolly, stole her childhood away from her by being a lazy alcoholic. Alcoholism troubles many Australians, and Winton has portrayed the negative effects superbly. The resilience of working class people and appreciation of battlers is showcased through Sergeant Major Oriel's puritanism and hard work ethic. It's all war, everything, raising a family, keeping your head above water, life. War is our natural state. The lambs are battlers, much like many Australians, then and now. Winton's depiction of character is true to the human experience because there's no winning or losing in life. All you can do is keep your head high and move on. Last part of your feature article, again we have a linking paragraph where it links your ideas presented to your overall angle, and then we move into our conclusion. Now here I've split the conclusion into 3 separate paragraphs, which I think fits more successfully into the idea of short, snappy paragraphs of a feature article genre. So I've got a paragraph that restates the arguments, which is the narrative elements, a paragraph that restates the canonical elements, and then a last paragraph that links back to the angle and a general statement about the canon. So characters that are relatable to the modern audience ensures that Cloudstreet must be considered part of the Australian literary canon. A really simple sentence, a link using the narrative element from the last section, and our angle. Then moving into the conclusion. Winton ticks all the boxes with his combination of techniques such as character, writing style, and symbolism. He has created a literary masterpiece that captivates readers with its unique portrayal of Australian life. Although at times frustrating, his novel remains true to the human experience, is incredibly well written and artistic, despite his clear lack of punctuated dialogue, and addresses relevant issues and ideas for a modern audience, while still remaining Australian at heart. It is clear that Tim Winton's Cloudstreet deserves to be placed in the Australian literary canon, even if he needs a remedial lesson in grammar. Through the creation of our very own canon, aspiring authors will be able to see a benchmark for Australian literature and seek inspiration for their own writings. So that's it. Feature article for Cloudstreet. Really important that you get the formatting correct in your feature article, that you try exceptionally hard on establishing that conversational tone. That can be achieved through the rhetorical questions and second person prose. We, I implore you, words like that. You must have a clear angle that answers that task question. Follow your structure and sequence your ideas logically. You must use direct evidence from Cloudstreet. Okay, you need to choose good quotes that link to your angle. You must have at least one picture with a caption, at least one embedded quote box, a clever headline that's big, bold, and across the page, an abstract that introduces your angle and is in bold, byline, which is your name as the author, and then the rest of the text is formatted in 2 columns, not 4, 3, 5, or anything silly, just 2. Good luck with the task. I look forward to reading them.